listening to the CubeCast.
All right, welcome back to the CubeCast with Tom, myself, and Sean Hanna. Sean Hanna comes from PK Move, PK Silver, all the umbrellas underneath that. There you go, right there. Yeah. What got me turned on to PK Move? As soon as I heard about it on a podcast, I told everyone around me, and let me tell you, Sean, they got sick of me talking about it. So thank you for doing something like that. I think it's really important.
Right, man, you're doing great.
Like, it's really important that you brought it to the surface on a different level, and that's leveling up for sure. All right. So you know what? We talked before. You were in where was it? Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's going on in Virginia?
So that's where PK Move is based, and that's where I originally taught parkour, starting like 10 years ago, around 2010, so 11 years. And most of our programs are in the city of Alexandria, which is right across the Potomac from DC, and we do programs with Title I schools, assisted living centers, and then we do classes online that are attended coast to coast.
Nice.
Wow, how's that going with online teaching? That must have some interesting challenges to it.
It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's a good creative challenge for an experienced parkour coach to be like, okay, you've got a living room, you got about 10 by 10 square feet, and that's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Maybe you got a chair. Maybe you got, we do all sorts of stuff now. We play with brooms and stuffed animals and dish rags and tissues and keys, and we do scavenger hunts and all kinds of little games. And it's forced me to think of parkour in yet another new way, where it's what kind of parkour could you teach and practice for when you've got actually almost nothing, right? And the answer, of course, parkour always finds an answer, right?
Yeah.
And then you start finding the next answer and the next one until, it's the highlight of my week to teach this thing in a 10 by 10 box.
So you're still able to get those like foundational movements with none of the crazy setups of a regular gym.
If you widen parkour's scope out, not so it's like so vague that it doesn't mean anything anymore, but if you widen it to the point where it's like you're really just practicing how to play, right? Doing parkour is actually playing, but practicing how to play can be broken into, little biomechanical chunks that help people build skills on a two-dimensional surface, or give them a very slight three-dimensional challenge. Like they put a book on the ground and they have to do something with that. That can easily translate to a, 5-6 foot ledge. Although we don't advise that for the PK Silver group, as most of them are in their 70s. We want them to just get around the house like a ninja. We're not really speeding it up too far, So, and that also in a weird way takes pressure off as a coach, right? It doesn't take a lot to entertain someone over 70. They just want to get around better. They don't want to do anything too crazy. So, the craziest stuff I can do on a couch or a chair is like going to blow them away. So in a really fun way, that takes the pressure off me having to be like dynamic party clown parkour teacher and just kind of medium chill party clown biomechanics, corrective exercise, fall prevention coach, which is actually a very rich territory. And staying in this 10 by 10 box, trying to think of it, make it new for them every week took me places I didn't know we'd go. Like how we're playing. A couple weeks ago we were doing. I think this is probably the favorite thing I've taught. We did nunchuck socks for 20 minutes. So you take your sock off. I didn't prepare for this anecdote, so you're just gonna have to holding a long sock. I'm like, go get some long socks. We do this all the time. I'll surprise them because a lot of times I don't know what I'm gonna come up with. I don't really do a plan with this class, this is me just throwing spaghetti at the wall. So this day I was just like, you know what, go get a pair of socks and we'll just do something. They all come back with socks. I'm like, all right, we tuck it underneath, you know, then we start breaking down little sock techniques. And then before you know it, you know, we're going all around and we've done shoulder mobility for 20 minutes and they don't even know it, but they're like, oh, my shoulders feel great. I'm like, yeah, nunchuck socks, real shit, you know? So playing with obstacles takes on a new context when you can hold the obstacle, right? So maybe it's not a solid piece that you have to move. Maybe it's just a thing that you hold that teaches you how to move and trains you, you know? So I think there's a whole lot of new territory in conditioning and fall prevention and just technical development that parkour coaches could really learn a lot from having to confine yourself mentally to the body of a 70-year-old. It actually brings out more creativity in the low to mid-range movements than you might have ever thought. And it'll go back into your practice. All of your smaller movements will start getting smoother. You'll start putting away the dishes better. You'll see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not saying I'm 70, but I mean, but using that kind of, so to speak, training in your later years just to move around the house is so beneficial from you falling, just, you know, succumbing to your number and say, oh, people at this age shouldn't be doing this. Well, no, there's no shouldn't. There is no can't. There is no don't. Like, it doesn't matter what age, you know, you got to be mobile. You got it.
And if you start thinking and practicing this way, now by the time you get to 70, man, how badass is your 70 going to look compared to everyone else's, right? You're going to be rocking still.
So let's talk about that. So was it the Florida Health Commission of some sort approved parkour for seniors?
Didn't know about that.
Oh, dang. What was it? Oh, no, for cancer. What I've heard was that PK Move, PK Silver was approved for seniors to practice, approved by the Cancer Association or something.
I wasn't advised on that.
No, like okay, maybe I'm just making some stuff up, but it's true.
Some rumors.
Great. Send me a link. They should have called me. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that means. Like approve. Like, was there some kind of research published, or that seems like a big one.
Yeah, so what I heard was that parkour with seniors really showed that the mobility and from having more movement in their life cut down on the possibilities of catching cancer at a sooner age, they noticed. And so they approved with the Cancer Association to introduce parkour in the seniors' lives.
I would love to read that. We did have a program early on called PK Survivor, which was specifically targeting breast cancer, but all cancer survivors, and holding fundraisers and events just to spread awareness and get people into our programs. And unfortunately, it didn't take hold enough, and we didn't give it enough of a push back then. But that's definitely one thing we want under our umbrella of teaching parkour to special populations. In the almost 6 years PK Move's been around, Title I schools and seniors have been the two main focus, but we've had events for wounded warriors, cancer survivers, kids with learning disabilities, you know, every kind of person you could think of that wouldn't go into a dubstep spray painted shirtless teenager parkour gym, you know. We brought it to them, and that's the mission.
That's funny.
I would be interested to get some follow-up on that. Where you got it. It could have been an interview that Nancy did. You know, Nancy Lorenz, our founder and original executive director, she did this because of her experience in my class at Urban Evolution, the old parkour gym I used to run. Doing parkour all the way through her breast cancer diagnosis and treatment and recovery. Like, she didn't stop.
Wow.
You know? she didn't stop because she was already a lifer, 6 months into starting to come to us. And then she got the diagnosis and she was like, this is what's going to get me through. And it did. So that was like the impetus for her to create this. So
it could have been with her. I'm pretty sure she was talking about it, but
and we've gotten a lot of good press lately. So it's some of it gets lost in the jumble. I do so many interviews.
You know what? That's the only spaghetti that stuck for me for that. So.
All right. We just had a piece by U.S. News and World Report with nunchuck socks quoted in it because the reporter was at that class. She was doing it. She was Michelangelo with the rest of us. It was great.
How cool is that?
That's in legacy media. That's in print.
You know what? I'm going to put that on the post.
10 pages down from like, what's Putin doing? I couldn't believe it.
Oh, what is he doing?
My parents, they were indifferent.
That's funny. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry about the chewing. This is one of those days where I forget to eat.
I have the same problem.
So what's going on, or what's in for the foreseeable future here for PK Move?
Well, the next big thing coming up is our summer camps. This is the first time we've had like a full-on week-long 20-hour summer camp, and all sold out in Alexandria. It's a huge test for coaches, so I'm pretty nervous about that. It's super hot and very humid, and hope the kids don't pass out and they just have fun. We've got our first licensee, which is an assisted living center called Goodwin House. They're starting their 4th round of the 8-week PK Silver programming that was the basis of the Marymount Texas Tech University study that declared parkour safe and effective for seniors, and it's not going to keep grandma when she tries to jump off the roof, right? So we just did an updated curriculum for them. I changed everything around, and I'm very excited about it because the research study programming was pretty there was a lot of like really standard strength and conditioning stuff because we were kind of teaching to the research, right? And scientific research has to be reproducible. It has to be, measurable. And parkour at its best is impossible to measure. It's very asymmetrical and organic. So I kind of had to put it in a box a little bit. But now that the scientists are gone, I changed the curriculum around. Now it's just games, skills, games, like 2 seconds of conditioning, back to games. It's going to be way more fun.
I love it.
Way more fun for 90-year-olds. Got to see 90-year-olds do it.
I love it. How many coaches are on the PK Move team? Like, is it like 90 plus, or?
Oh,
how does one to get to be a coach? Like, how can I become a coach?
I was going to ask that too.
Take that.
I'll send you the paperwork. It is substantial.
Please.
Nonprofits, baby. Woo! We love our paperwork. That's what I know. That's what I know now. So to become a coach for PK Move, we're very open-ended. We're open-minded towards people that have the right mindset and background, but aren't necessarily in parkour. They're not dresseurs. They don't do this, but maybe they have a deep background in rehabilitation or working with seniors, but they just think this is a cooler way to do it. We just hired a lady named Erin who's done work for Silver Sneakers, very, very well-known national senior fitness programming organization. They're kind of like the gold standard. Silver Sneakers is the gold standard for licensed seniors fitness programming, and they are like everywhere, right? And she did them for a long time, and hold on, kind of lost you here. She was with them for a long time, delivered their programming, and saw us through one of our articles. I think she saw the video that we did for Vice magazine, which showed some of our 50 and up programming. And she was kind of, she had that same kind of aha experience, especially coming from an experienced place in senior fitness where you see most of the programming there is pretty rote. Like it is, they kind of coddle them even a little bit. It's mostly standing on one place and doing very simple movements, all of which is very good, but there's no spice to it, right? There's no, and Zumba's dangerous. No, I'm kidding. So there's got to be something in the middle, But she kind of recognized the heart of what we're trying to get out in this class, and really any parkour class, right? Where it's like you're fascinated by movement for its own sake. You're not there for you're not there for your health. You're not there to lose weight. You're not there to get jacked. You're not even there to stabilize a joint, except very indirectly by playing with a sock for a while. We want to make it playful. We want to make it fun, because in time we think, as more research comes in on this, it'll bear it out. It sticks. It actually sticks. That's the problem with most fitness, is people don't adhere to it because it's a drag, man. No one wants to exercise. That shit sucks. And I do a lot of it, but I only do a lot of it because I'm so fascinated by my movements that I have to have a body that does them, right? So that forces me to learn. That forces the discipline out of me. And that's our big sell, which is like, if we can get people goofing off and liking it, they'll actually do the work. When you give them homework, they'll actually do it, because now they're excited to scramble over a bench or whatever dumb shit we made them do last week, but they want to do it better, because it's about the move. It's not about them anymore. And that sticks.
Love it.
Yeah. That's a good thing, hey, about parkour. It's the fun of it is the huge draw, and everything else is it's a side effect.
Right. We tell them in class that all the time, like, I don't care what your goals are. That's all just, that's a byproduct. Health is a byproduct of movement. It's not the other way around, you know? But it's sold the other way around, unfortunately.
Right.
We're just one little, chink in that armor, saying that we got it all backwards. We need to do it different. And this is the way. Play's the way.
I love it.
So a lot of the coaches, they don't have to have a strong, or I shouldn't say not a strong, but like a long background in parkour themselves.
No, not really. They do need to have some interest in it, obviously. And we do put them through some specialized training, depending on whether they're going to work with the kids or with the silvers.
Okay.
Because obviously 7-year-olds and 70-year-olds have vastly different curriculum, at least in some parts. I could show you at the margins or at the beginnings that everybody should learn the same things. If you can't stand on a 2x4 solidly at any age, you shouldn't be going up any higher than that, right?
Yeah.
Master those 2 inches and we'll talk, right? Everyone starts at the same point. But for our kids, I mean, we do like it when the coaches, have some background. We've got some incredibly skilled people. Frank Mejia works for us. If you know who he is, he's like a world chase tag badass and took my old job back east. I would call him my protege, but I can see him rolling his eyes. He's actually going to be here this week. And most of our coaches did come from that like core nucleus of people that we all knew each other at Urban Evolution. And when PK Move started, we were all happy to help and throw in. But since then, it's grown quite a bit and diversified. And I would say roughly half of our coaches don't have any particular parkour background or didn't come here with it and are now, getting into the life after being exposed to it, because it's awesome and it's fun. And everyone who gets exposed to it usually ends up doing it a little bit.
Yeah. So you guys don't have like one gym that you're based out of or anything, right?
No, that's our model is all about coming to you, right? So if we're going to serve special populations, we have to understand that A, they're usually not going to have the money for a parkour gym, and B, they wouldn't be caught dead in one anyways for the seniors. Like they're not coming to a parkour gym, no matter how open and inclusive you make it. That's first of all, it's just not practical. You know, the age groups we're targeting, a lot of them either can't drive or don't drive. So that's not going to work, right? And the whole ethos behind parkour, in our opinion, and most people's opinion, is, you know, like we all kind of understand gym baby culture a little bit, right? You know, as parkour gyms have started to grow up, you get that cohort that only do parkour in the gym, and they never go out and do it, and it's not like integrated into their lives, and that's backwards now, and it's missing the point, right? If you're only doing parkour inside, it's like that's you missed it. You know, you got to go out. And so our whole thing is, if we're going to serve people that don't have the means or aren't in the right mindset for a place like that, it's like, don't worry about it. We'll come to you. You've got a curb. Oh, look at that. You've got a handrail. You've got a short wall. You've got everything. We can teach you to play wherever you are. And that's especially important for some of the low income kids we deal with, because, again, they're not going to have the money to go to a parkour gym, but they often live in areas that, you know, could hold a lot of adventure for them if they weren't scared of using it or had friends to be there with. So it teaches them the culture of it in a way that a gym oftentimes can't when it gets kind of cliquey, you know?
Right.
And we want to, you know, we want to spread that message about parkour generally. It's like, this is about reclaiming the environment, right? There's a big, there's a bigger reason behind all this goofy playing stuff that, you know, we don't have to get too serious about, but it is important, you know, as movement kind of gets more and more patterned out of the world. This is one little thing we can do to kind of reclaim the space. And so that's part of the mission of PK Move, is going to people that would never think that they could participate in that philosophy through their bodies and saying, oh, yes, you can. Let's go to this handrail. You're going to have a blast.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really kind of getting back to the origins of parkour itself, right? Like, it is accessible. Just go outside and do this stuff. You can do it. And it's great that you guys are, you know, having such a good approach to getting older people who wouldn't typically do this. You know, everyone thinks it's going to be teenagers, but it's so awesome that you guys are actually getting out to, you know, even seniors, right? Like, that's really wicked.
It's a much easier sell when they don't have to do nothing, you know, right? Coming to you, you don't even have to pay. They already paid.
Love it.
Or it's on a grant, or it's this, that, or the other. It's like, it's here for you. All you have to do is poke your head in and take a look one time, see if it's interesting. And they usually do, you know?
Yeah.
Usually it's just one class is all it takes.
Sean, when did you start parkour yourself?
I'm like most people. I'm a Casino Royale baby. Most Americans, I'm a Casino Royale baby. Yeah.
All right.
So when that movie came out, that was 14. That was 15 years ago now, almost.
Is it really already?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Time flies.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I'm a total American basic. You know, I saw Fucon do that chase, and, you know, I was part of that first wave of people in America that saw that and was like, that's the thing. I've always wanted to do whatever the hell he's doing. I got to find out everything about it.
You're giving me goosebumps, Sean. Like, seriously, I feel your enthusiasm.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, before that point in the States, there was like the Tribe and maybe Tempest.
Yeah,
and that was my first parkour class was at Primal Movement and with Frosty and Travis and the original Tribe.
No way. Yeah, that is sick.
Oh, cool. It's nice to know some OGs that you trained with.
Yeah, and I fell in love. The first frame of Casino Royale, like the first Kong ball, I was like, that's it. And then I went to Primal and took that first class, and I felt like I got shot with adrenaline afterwards. I left the class and then immediately went out to the parks and sprained my ankle doing a bunch of jumps. Just had so much energy for it. I just never felt that tapped into anything else I've ever done. And I've loved activity my whole life. I've done martial arts, basketball, climbing, snowboarding, wrestling, all of it. But
cool. I was going to ask.
Like that first big curb jump was like, this is it. This is the rest of my life.
that's a funny time, hey, after your first, a little bit of exposure, you have like the veil kind of lifted off, right, from the normal muggle vision. It's just like, oh my God, I can do all of this now.
It's real, man. When the first time parkour vision hits,
Yeah.
man, you feel like,
I know.
like the universe just whispered a secret in your
Yeah.
ear. You're like, oh my God, I got to tell everyone. Can I tell everyone?
And everyone gets sick of you here talking about it. It's, and then all your friends turn into parkour friends. Like, it's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the only ones who understand me. I can barely talk to anyone else. It's not true.
You don't
Seems
get
that
it,
way
man.
sometimes. So I see a set of drums there. What else do you do? You mentioned some other hobbies like martial arts and.
Yeah. Lately,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Since the big injury, I had a Achilles rupture 3 months ago. Yeah. One too many jumps. It finally happened. So lately, archery and drums, the stationary skills have really, and the drumming's good dorsiflexion. So
Right.
each hit of the bass drum gets me back. It's all PT. It's all PT.
That's cool.
But yeah, and I live in Boulder, obviously. So, all the climbing and scrambling and my absolute favorite cross training for parkour, because my style is like speed, and I want to do world chase tag. I had a mind to do world chase tag before this happened, and I was training with the guys, like training with the Boulder crew and all the guys that do it, and feeling so fast, and it's so fun. It's the best parkour competition I think that's been put. I really do. It's just the way that it's done, the way they treat the athletes, the way they shoot it, and how exciting and constant it is. It's just like, it's the best. So after doing a couple speed comps at Apex, about maybe a year and a half ago, I started finally going into all the trails in Boulder. I saw the gap between me and the guys that could do like all these monster down strides and just flick off of it and keep going, and how much faster that made their times, as opposed to guys like me that could do the big jumps, but I got to like stop and plyo 2 feet. That's like a quarter second. If you do, or that's like half a second. You do 2 of those, you're already a second behind in a 12-second race. You'll never catch up. So I'm like, fuck, how do I get those? My ankles are going to explode if I go from here to here on a stride. Are you kidding me? I didn't understand it. But then I started going out to the trails in Boulder, and obviously Boulder's got, you'll never get the best of Boulder. You could hit a different trail every single day.
Awesome.
Wow. But I'd been here for 4 years, and I'm such a parkour dork. I'd only been to campus, 4 years in Boulder, I barely knew any trails, and I started going up to trails and just humping it, kind of doing my like parkour hermit cross training. I didn't go out with that intention. I just wanted to do it because I felt guilty. It was a beautiful summer, and I hadn't really done Boulder despite living here. So I went out and did it, and started going up pretty quick and started getting my cardio. And then I started seeing guys would pass me, guys and girls would pass me going down like at fucking sprint speed. And I was like, what? And I'm a parkour guy, right? But that looks scary to me. And I was like, well, that's it then. That's what I got to do. And I started watching them, especially the ones. There's a group here that you're not supposed to talk about. I learned from friends who do climbing. Climbers are so precious. They really are.
That's awesome.
There's this group called, I'm going to blow the cover off this. They're called, but I don't even remember the right name, so I'm probably not blowing the cover off nothing. But it's like the Devil's Gremlins or Satan's Minions or Lucifer's Douches or some shit. It's but their whole thing is they like scramble race. So if you know scrambling, that's like the midpoint between hiking and vertical climbing. So scrambling can still be pretty damn hairy, right? It's like as close as you can get to free soloing without free soloing, right? And these crazy bastards do something called the Tour de Flatirons, which is, if you know anything about Boulder, we've got these great big jutting rocks that go at these angles like this, spread across the landscape right next to the city. They're iconic. You've probably seen them somewhere. And there's 5 in particular, flat irons 1 through 5, and insane motherfuckers go straight up the face of it on a scramble, hundreds of feet, and then run back down as fast as they fucking can, taking these huge drops at these crazy angles. And I'm thinking about the best speed comps I've ever seen indoors on symmetrical, geometrical surfaces.
Yeah.
And, like amazing guys, like the French dudes. I've seen French guys compete on speed course, and you're just like, ooh la la, I can't believe how fucking advanced it is. But I saw, Satan's bastards or whatever, ripping down these fucking mountains, and I'm just like, holy shit, that's what it's about. I gotta start doing that. So I started picking up speed last year, and holy crap, by the end of it, I was taking huge ass drops in stride on bumpy, weird, like every step you take at that speed, you're asking to get chewed up. Like every single thing could fuck you up. So you really dial in. Like I was so centered, and I finally felt the same way about doing a trail hike as I felt about doing, the biggest ass stride at the campus. Like I found my parkour in the mountains, and all I had to do was scare the shit out of myself going down like 10 times faster than I went up. It's the best. So I can't wait to start getting back to that. That's like my main Boulder bro activity is just ripping ass down mountains like a Satan's whatever. And I went up the face for the first time last year. I did one of the faces up in a scramble, which is like, you want to talk about your asshole puckering for like 20 minutes straight just to get you awesome. Whatever movement drug you want to get on, Boulder's got it for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's on the bucket list for sure. Got to get out there at some point.
Yeah, apparently Boulder's wicked.
Yeah, come do it. I got a fold-out ottoman and everything.
Thanks for the offer. That's really cool of you.
Yeah.
You said you mentioned injury. I know you're in a boot, but how do you
Not anymore.
Nice.
Oh.
How do you deal with your injury? Do you just like let time heal, or do you go to a chiropractor or a person or massage therapist? How do you deal with that?
They're kind of all the same. This one was unique, and it's my first surgery. I managed to avoid it, but as far as injury recovery goes, I've done them all myself, and I've had them all. So I've learned how to do each one, and I mean, we're talking the whole thing. I've set breaks. I've pushed back in dislocations.
Wow.
Every tweak and tear and fuck up you can have, I've done it twice, but brought it back each time stronger. And that speaks to my education and my background. My first phase of my career was rehabilitation and training people over 50, and my degree's in exercise science. So, I'm not going in blind. I'm not just stubborn. I'm stubborn and slightly educated, plus experienced after all this time. Like I said, I've fixed everything on me twice. I've fixed other people for 20 years now and seen what works and what doesn't. And it's kind of all the same, after the initial emergency recovery period, depending on how bad the injury is. Like an Achilles repair, you need a couple of months of little to no activity so that thing can knit back together. I gave it like a day, before I started testing it again. But I managed to be pretty calm. But the process is always the same. Once the initial phase is over, then you're just seeing what's left. Like what movement out of this particular joint is left. And in the case of the Achilles tendon, the main movement there is dorsiflexion, right? You take away dorsiflexion, you take away everything. Your runs, your jumps, all of it. It's all gone. Anything dynamic is gone. So what's the number one goal? Bring back dorsiflexion. So the first thing you have to do is see what's in there. And so when I put my toes up to the wall, like say, these are my toes and this is the rest of my leg, I can't bend past 90, right? So dorsiflexion is almost completely gone after surgery. And now we're at month 3 and I'm back to like 45, 50 degrees again. Wow. And I need to get down to here where my left left leg is to be back to even and back to like world class, because the kind of dorsiflexion you need for high level speed parkour is like insane. You need to be really strong and really supple in the dorsiflex position. So obviously I dug a huge hole with this.
Hilarious.
But the actual mechanics of it are fairly simple. I just have to bring this back. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Most of them are pretty tedious at the beginning, but back in month 3, I'm already going on hikes and climbing trees and doing dumb shit again. So
Wow.
we're on the way. We're on the way.
Yeah, that's pretty speedy.
Yeah. Faster than my orthopedist would prefer, I can tell you that for sure.
So
He doesn't like my stories, but I'm winning him over gradually. Each time I come back, it's like, what'd you do now? I'm like, whatever the hell I felt like doing, and it worked. Look.
I've done the same.
Okay. I guess I trust you.
I know.
He has to, right? What can he do?
I know what Tom's thinking. Have you followed the knees over toes guy?
Oh, you read my mind.
Ben Patrick, yeah.
Ben Patrick is awesome.
Okay,
Ben
cool.
Patrick has really got something.
Yeah.
And I was incorporating a lot of his movements into my practice before this injury that were like, I mean, it felt like my legs were taking like steroids. I felt like leg vitamins. The guy really has it. In fact, I blame him for this injury a little bit because I was getting so strong so fast that I really kind of overdid it and got my ego into it. But that's not Ben's fault. It's
blaming
really
him for your ego.
It's got nothing to do with him. It's got
his fault.
everything to do with my one more time syndrome that I can't shake. But that's
people saying that.
But yeah, it was, and all the things that I need to work on now, I was already working on with the knees over toes movements.
Good.
So I've just adapted them to rehab, right? I've constricted the forms, but it's the same kind of program. Now it's just knees over toes for a broken guy.
Yeah.
And soon I'll be fixed and right back to it. And that was because of him. The 2 goals I had before this were actually starting to get realistic. When I discovered knees over toes, it got me really psyched about playing basketball again, because that was my very first love was basketball.
Same here.
And so for part of my warm-ups, you know, for my agility, my crossover training for World Chase Tag, I was doing dribbling again and starting to do vertical jumps again and getting a nice handle too. I'm like a little honey badger out there when I get going. and it was feeling good. And then the next phase is I wanted to bring the hops back, because I could dunk when I was 19. I actually could. I'm only 5'10", but I've always had jumps, and I could throw it down when I was 19 and still playing basketball, but hadn't done it in 20 years. And obviously I've been jumping like, you know, mostly horizontal or only slightly vertical for the last 14. I wasn't doing that jump, stop, explode up like in basketball. And I discovered my tendons were too fucked for that.
Yeah.
Right. 14 years of parkour, plus not having specialized training, plus not having done knees over toes the way that he does it. You know, I've had a few of those movements in my practice for a while, but the way that he stacks them and progresses them, like he's got it. And after about a month and a half of that, like I'd gone from like scraping the rim, like that's where I started. Probably 6 weeks of knees over toes, I was back to here.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And to dunk, you need like that. You need to be just past the wrist if you want to stuff it and like really do it and not need a alley-oop and shit. That's like so awesome. Like a white guy.
Man can't jump.
If you really want to do it yourself, you need about that much clearance over 10 feet. And man, I'm telling you, it was like 4 inches in 6 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, 4 more. And God, I've got it. So I was getting close to that. And the other major goal was getting to World Chase Tag and tagging Frank Mejia, who I hate with a burning passion.
Here first.
No, he's actually one of my favorite people, but he sucks, and I'm going to ruin his life when I tag him. When I tag him with like 41 off of a repaired Achilles, you're just going to see the light in his eyes, and he'll never do chase tag again. He'll just move into a hole and die, which is my dream.
Hilarious.
That and dunking. Those are the 2 big things that just tumbled down the mountain a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. It's obviously working.
Make the eventual victory that much sweeter. At least that's what my delusions tell me, and I believe them. I believe them. I have to.
So that type of
dream. My dream is to ruin Frank's life. I want that.
Yeah, life is but a
get a
dream.
T-shirt. That training then, like the knees over toes stuff, has that impacted like the PK Silver stuff at all? Like, or was that already in there, like backwards walking type things?
Backwards walking was already in there, but partly because of knees over toes, I've expanded its role in the new curriculum. And I've started to experiment with my Wednesday class. And, you know, just doing his like topmost progressions, but getting them used to the idea, right? Because his whole thing is exercise science and fitness generally has, at least in the West, is like really got a big failure of imagination, right? Always loading a squat in the back, always focused on like weightlifting and bodybuilding and all these other protocols that don't max out your agility and in fact limit you and set you up for injury, right? So so I'm starting to get people used to just the concept, right? Because it hits everyone's ears wrong. It seems wrong until you give the real world examples like he gives, like going downstairs, that's knees over toes. Going on a hike, that's knees over toes. Like we're actually designed that way. And so you have to retrain people. If they've gotten any other traditional fitness advice, you have to like condition that back out of them and show them that it's okay.
Yes.
And in the case of something like PK Silver Online, we make games out of it. You know, I'll have them set up like a diagonal, and that's a movement. Here, we'll go over here. We'll put you in studio.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
And we are in studio. All right. All right. So have them set up, you know, and instead of having them split squat forward, maybe we'll just have them dip the back knee, which is already a huge challenge. Like already this screws people up. And then if you make them lift the back knee, now they're really screwed up.
Right.
Right. So then they have to just master that position. And then from there, what are you doing? You know, you give them some sort of thing to deal with up top. So you like lock in that bottom. So now they're getting all that anterior load in this side, but it's kind of passive, right? They're not really like cranking on it. It's just passive anterior load pumping up that knee joint. And while that's fatiguing, you distract them up top and, you know, maybe give them some nunchucks or give them some keys to twirl or give them a book to pass behind their back or give them a ball to catch, but they have to stay in anterior load. And by doing that, by giving them the upper body distraction, they'll do that shit for like 2 minutes straight. If you just told them, hey, I just want you to hold this position for 2 minutes, they wouldn't do it. They'd be pissed. They wouldn't come back. You give them this game up top, and now you get the rehab on the bottom. And that's kind of, we're always trying to like hit that target in PK Silver where it's like rehab, but silly, you know? There's ways to do it.
I love it. Thanks for the demo. That was really cool. Geez, good for you. Whatever you're doing, keep on doing it because it's showing. And I've just learned another thing. So wonderful. Like the distraction and all that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, try it on yourself. It actually works.
I just want to put I'll let you know, and a shout out, and everyone can go to Amazon and pick up the book PK Silver. I just bought it. It should be here this week sometime. So yeah.
PK Silver Forever, your parkour toolkit pandemic edition, soon to be updated when pandemic's over. Unless the Delta variant fucks up my plans.
Still, the Alpha's coming out, and then the Beta. There'll be a new one. Come on. You know how it works.
Think that's going to end? Come on.
Doesn't it?
There's only two outcomes for humanity. Let's face it. It's either The Walking Dead or Wall-E.
There's always been two outcomes, right? There's always been a catastrophe, but this is not what the podcast's about. So
Not yet.
Not yet, because I can roll with it. Let me tell you, Sean, I can roll with it.
All the way down into the abyss, huh, homie? Yeah, I know. Me too. That's why I teach recess for a living, to stay the hell out of it.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. Tune out. So do you
man.
cross? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
No, just my face is actually kind of hurting from laughing right now.
See, told you it'd be fun.
When was the last time that happened, Tom? You got a face hurt. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a while.
There's your dimples. There you go.
No bullshit. One of the things I've really loved doing lately that I didn't know if anyone would take to, but the Silvers really love it, is face work. We've been doing a lot of face work.
Go
right? on. We and I'm tying it to fall prevention, right? So for example, they get to learn a little bit of anatomy, like orbicularis. Everyone, I want you to open up orbicularis first thing, right? This is the first exercise. I just want you to push orbicularis oculi out to their edges of range, okay? Now bring the right down, back up. Bring the left down, back up. And we teach them to control their facial muscles. It seems silly, because it is. And they're looking at each other, making these weird faces. But you can explain it all in terms of physiology and biomechanics. There's ways to move your face around that actually open up your nasal passages, make it easier to breathe. There's ways that you can actually change the focus of your eyes to see more depth out of field, depending on how you move or don't move orbicularis oculi, right? You can act widening and pulling up your eyebrows actually changes your depth perception. It can actually help you take in more information, right? There's a lesson in each one of these little things. You do this little move. Like, why the hell would anyone do that? Well, one reason is if you wanted to pull the corners of your mouth down and engage sternocleidomastoid, totally, and then hold your neck against that. That's actually a fantastic mobility exercise for people that have pain and stiffness over here, right? Well, you gotta follow the instructor. You gotta slow shit down. Parkour is dangerous. You don't just jump into some shit like that. Same lesson.
Yeah. That feels
but
wonderful.
That's it. So we've been working on using face muscles to help them work on their neck issues, because everyone has neck issues. Repeat after me. You, me. Everyone who's ever owned a smartphone for more than 6 months has neck issues, right? So we've been using funny faces to help them work on depth perception, neck strength. There's a little bit of parkour in everything. I really believe that now as a coach, now that I'm teaching eyebrow sets.
Yeah, I've done line pose after most workouts, where it just kind of, open your jaw and you kind of exhale out and you curl your tongue and you, I'll do it.
There's thousands-year-old practices based on this kind of stuff. You'll find it in Qigong, you'll find it in Kung Fu, you'll find it in yoga. It just hasn't been found in parkour yet, because we need some silly instructors willing to make it that way. I think when any system or discipline becomes deep enough, they all kind of become about the same thing. Right. Like Jackie Chan tells Jaden that everything is Kung Fu, in a movie called Karate Kid. It's kind of confusing, but makes him take the jacket on, take the jacket on, take it off, put it on, take it off. It all becomes the same thing, and it all kind of just blends into that sphere of movement for its own sake, which is kind of like it helps you. I mean, I don't want to get too mystical here, because I'll be above my pay grade before long. But when you get into movement for its own sake, I feel like it's easier to deal with all the conceptual realities that we deal with as humans, right? And that sounds big, but we all know what I'm talking about, like time, money, nations, business licenses, like every piece of fictive language and contracts and stuff that we've made up so that we can cooperate with each other and not, just like kill or starve, right? It's all good stuff, but it requires so much out of the front of our brains that what's been happening to us this whole time is we're just losing connection down here, losing connection. And now it's almost completely patterned out. So one of the things I love most about parkour is the context it gives people for reconnecting with that in a manner that is so peaceful and playful and supportive and positive. You know, like Kung Fu or any martial art can deliver that, but the context is combat. And you're learning all these skills that you hope you never have to use, right? But you get the spiritual and physiological benefits of practicing it, but then you never get to actually use it. Or if you're doing martial arts properly, you should never put yourself in that position, right? Like that's part of martial arts, is having the self-control and the discipline to be able to deal with scenarios non-violently, because you understand what violence is about. And that's all cool. And that's all shapes the human experience. But parkour is cooler than that, because it's like does the exact opposite, right? We want to get you back to a state before you had to worry about taxes or letters or numbers, before any of it, an original state that is like pure presentness and connection. I personally have not experienced any other physical movement context that allows me to access that state as readily, as quickly, and in as many different angles and dimensions as I can possibly think of. It's like pure imagination. There's so few things like that anymore.
Speaking my language.
Yeah. I mean, you get it. I'm done preaching to the choir. You've got enough.
No, you sound like me too much. Like,
I mean, those of us who do it, we know. We know. You know, you can spark that inner child anytime you want with a quick little training sesh. That's the real gift of it.
And you know how society is kind of structured, like you were saying, it's not conducive to that. You know, people forget that whole aspect of their human nature, right? And we're probably still a good 100,000 years away from evolving to not needing to move like that anymore. So
1,000. I'm going like
100,000.
I feel like we're in the final minutes of the game. Like we need to throw a Hail Mary pass.
Yeah, I should amend that. It's all depending on CRISPR technology and robotics. We're a long ways away from naturally evolving to that point. Till we're little alien creatures with tiny little bodies.
Yeah,
it's definitely, you know, a cynic is going to say that's inevitable, but you know, an optimist says that, okay, these changes came over us really fast. It's a very new problem. Yeah. And parkour to me is just the latest, you know, the latest counterbalance to it, or the latest solution that's come out of, or has been necessitated by the new reality, right? Of modern architecture, lack of movement, sedentary life. We've tried coming up with exercise. Exercise science didn't exist 100 years ago. We didn't need it. It wasn't necessary, right? Exercise as discipline, as an art form, as an act, you know, that's been around for a while, but as a practice science to cope with large scale societal problems like obesity, heart attacks, like that's actually a very new phenomenon. And it's failing bad, you know, as when it gets translated into fitness. Fitness is $100 billion industry in a country that's just getting in worse shape every decade. Every decade, our health outcomes are declining as our, you know, our what is it? Like the median mortality rate is kind of holding steady, but are those quality years? And if we're going to add 10 or 20 more years to the human lifespan, what are they going to be like? Are we just going to be in pain and inflamed and pumped full of cortisol and distracted? Like, I don't want another 20 if that's what it's going to be like. About. You know, so I think parkour was born out of necessity to kind of combat that. I don't think that's what the Yamakasi intended, right? I think they were just trying to deal with their own lives and forge a friendship, but I think the wider movement has kind of become about that. It's kind of become about reclamation of space before it's all gone, before we are restricted to doing practically nothing, you know? It's almost countercultural in that sense, but you hate to talk about it that way because I don't want it to be cool. I want parkour to be so normal that it changes architecture, that it changes the way cities are built and the way people live their lives. less stressful and more playful. We can do that.
Yeah.
We had it once before, and then we started domesticating wheat or whatever. And then we were screwed, but we can unscrew it too. If we screwed it, we can unscrew it. There might still be time left. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm hopeful because I have to be.
That's a nice vision. I love that your utopia is structures made for parkour, people doing parkour.
That
like
facilitate movement, right? And there will be no parkour people. There will just be people who move like people moved for 99.9% of our history until we decided to let the fucking machines and the ox do it, But I'm not saying we should go back to foraging. I like having, antibiotics, for example.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Obviously, there's so many unintended consequences of our progress. There's so many unintended consequences, and there has to be some natural corrective that is born out of, our inborn, our desire to move. I think everybody desires movement. They have to. Their body demands it. It doesn't work properly unless you do. We just have so many ways of suppressing it. And again, I think parkour is so good about taking those blinders off. More than any sport, more than any other thing I can think of, except maybe dance. Dance is the only other thing that I can compare it to.
Freedom.
Where it's like there's no goal, there's no point to this other than to enjoy it. And the better you enjoy it, the better your body works. Who has better bodies than dancers? Come on.
Yeah, it's funny. Like sports have just been the justification to move, but like you don't need a game. You don't need to score goals. Just move.
That's how we fail. That's how we failed the generations beneath us, right? If we emphasize sport and you're not a sporty person, then what? What are your options? And we don't give people enough. So yes, once again, I think it's just such a better option. If you don't want to be funneled into one thing, which is not against that, if you want to play football, play football. If you want to do badminton, do badminton. But if you just want to move and learn how to do it at a high level in multiple dimensions for no particular reason, like when you were 3, except for now you have an adult body that can do even more badass shit, we've got the answer for that. And I think everybody could use some of that, even if they have their specialty, right? Parkour is influencing sports, martial arts. There's a lot of different fields of activity that are slowly catching on to what we've all known for a long time. It's like, if you know how to land and transfer momentum, like how many different things could that apply to, right? So we're going to keep seeing it. Parkour's influence is going to continue growing. It might be subtle in some arenas, but with PK Silver and PK Move, I hope to make it help it grow in a way that no one really expected it to. If we can normalize 80-year-olds doing parkour, that helps everyone else in the middle who's skeptical feel the gap, right? It takes away their excuse. And I hope that we can be a part in making it more popular, from 5 to 80 because of that. If we can show that grandma can do it, that changes the conversation for I could never do that. Bullshit. You're only 50, No, that's the message. Bullshit. You're only 65.
I want to be a coach so bad now. You totally got me worked up.
I'll send you the paperwork.
Because there's quite a lot of seniors out there, silvers out there that I can definitely make an impact on in a good way.
So if people are interested in learning this, coaching method or getting this program, can they go to your website and
they
become
can go
certified
to our website
some way?
They can contact me. So we're putting the finishing touches on our first licensee relationship. We've had our licensee, the Goodman House, for 2 years. And this has really been our incubator, right? Because we're kind of, not to toot my own horn or nothing, but we're kind of inventing the wheel with this a little bit, you know. Parkour over 70, 80 really doesn't exist anywhere, hardly anywhere. And it definitely doesn't exist with like any kind of evidence-based research behind it, right? And we did it that way for a reason, because the stakes are higher, obviously. You know, when you're dealing with the most vulnerable people and trying to teach them something as cool as parkour, like you need to know your stuff. The problem is, what's the stuff? What is the stuff? We don't really have the stuff yet. So that's been my thing the past 4 years, has been refining the curriculum that creates the stuff, testing it in a real lab, and then getting it to a point where we feel comfortable reproducing that result. We aren't quite there yet. We've got a couple more rounds of this first licensee to go. We've got a partnership with an app called Zibrio, where they're going to be delivering our online content that I've been working on for the past 8-9 months. And those are going to be the first 2 moves that allow us to start expanding. So the short answer to this is, we haven't published our certification yet, and we're not doing new licensees yet, because for us, this is like, it needs just the right amount of time to bake. We're not going to rush it at all. But we're getting close, and there is so much. Like, I've been so blown away since I took over the director position by just how much interest. She warned me it's going to come at me in waves. Like, this is the right idea. This is the right idea. It really is. But it'll flame out if we get it wrong. So I need to know that this stuff's going to work. It can't just be a cool idea. Hey, parkour for grandma. It's like, yeah, that's a cool idea. But until I feel comfortable letting other people that I don't have direct control of take over classes, we're not going to be pushing to expand it. So stay tuned, and definitely. I'll be putting the finishing touches on the curriculum over the next year, and that's when we hope to start making moves to expand. And that's when it'll be on the website for, how do I do this awesome nunchuck sock thing? Is there a system? There will be. We're probably about 12 to 16 months away. So that's my best answer right now.
Love it.
Got to get it right.
Check out sagemovement.net for apparel. We have the Essentials, OG, and custom prints. Now the Essentials, there's these awesome hoodies, beanies, joggers, and yes, the Sage mug. Everyone's been asking for it, so now it can be yours. The OG is what I'm wearing right now. It's the Sage logo with parkour, tricking, and free running. It's actually it's one of my favorite t-shirts to wear. And the custom prints, I don't want to spoil it. You have to go check them out yourself. They're really, really great. And if you want to see our athletes in action, go see YouTube, Sage Movement. Also, Instagram, Sage Movement. It's a real freak show, to tell you the truth. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. That really helps us. And thank you for your support.
And we're back.
I'm steepling. This is a power move.
Steepling? Is that like the Superman one when you put your fists on your hips and puff up your chest?
No, that's where you put your fingers together to add gravitas to whatever you're saying, even if you're
raise one eyebrow, raise the other.
From an FBI negotiator.
Oh, you got to get that smile off your face.
So he cracks people.
Ooh, a power move. I'm going to say confess to everything.
Very fond of this. TED talkers are always coming at you with a half steeple, you know. Telling you, plus 10 gravitas. Put those fingers together. It's almost like you have a British accent all of a sudden.
Wow.
You're going to use with a bit more authority than you're used to.
That's a lot of power to wield.
Yeah, I can't handle it. That's why I can do it. I can only be trusted with so much power. Director of a nonprofit is like the right level of power for me. I think if I get any more than that, I'm going to turn into a prick.
The big ego, right? And this is me, and I do that.
And I want you to all do this because I said, now you're fucking fired. Oh, wait, it's a nonprofit. I can't just fire people.
Doesn't work like
so
that.
many rules, so many spreadsheets. It's okay. It's all part of the dream. sort of.
Yeah, no, I get it. It is a dream. Parkour, I love it.
Dreams require paperwork too. That's what they don't tell you.
That's true.
So when you train parkour, what's your certain style? Do you have a certain style? Do you focus more on flow? Are you into, well, not because of your injury, but I mean, like, were you into big jumps or monkey movement or?
Yeah, it's evolved quite a bit over 14 years. But gun to my head, favorites have always been rail prees at height, any big stride, and Superman fronts off the biggest shit I can do. So the teenage book.
Yeah.
I got the teenage menu
I
going,
love it.
but I just happen to be quite good at rail prees at height. So that's all three of those. I love them because that's like that's the feeling of flight. Like that's a tiny little preview into what a bird feels all the time and probably takes for granted. But when you get to just snatch a little piece of that, if you nail a big jump that day, it's like you don't care what else happened.
No, you're right.
It doesn't matter how bad you're feeling. It doesn't matter who the president is. I fucking flew for like half a second and it was awesome. So those are definitely my favorite three. As far as like a general style, I told you I was working my way up towards chase tag because I got really inspired by doing some speed comps a couple years ago. It's been almost a couple years, and seeing the Europeans and a few of the guys here, just the elements of track and field that they had elevated to high speed parkour were really, really fascinating to me. Like it's I've seen and done so much parkour that it's hard to be surprised after a while, even though this stuff keeps expanding and evolving. People still don't even understand how far ahead of the curve, like how many different disciplines are being blended by 15-year-olds in Oslo right now. It's so out there.
Yeah.
But the thing I was fascinated by that I saw that I thought I could do were these big down and up stride sequences, which you only see in like triple jump. You only see it on flat surfaces. And being able to chain those together in these speed courses, I hadn't seen that high level track and field translated to 3 dimensions. And I was like, that fired me up again. So I live right across the street from an amazing track. And once again, it was like, why aren't you using Boulder? Like, why aren't you getting better with Boulder? You live right across the street from a track where Olympians train, where shredded 70-year-olds train every morning. So I got out there and, stopped, got over my aversion to running more than 2 seconds, like most parkour people.
Yeah, I agree. I'm one of them.
No, I like running, but like,
I don't.
So true.
My max is like 5 strides.
Same.
So I got out there and I decided it's like if I'm ever going to catch up to these guys who are all like in their mid 20s and old man Hannah 40, it's like if I'm going to close the gap on these guys at all, then I have to become a track and field athlete and see what that feels like again. And first thing I discovered was sprints hurt. Like I was so banged up. I was like, I don't have the tendon integrity or just straight up muscle power to sprint like I need to. Like, holy crap. So I just started going out every single morning, 8 a.m. and just hitting my knees over toes, hitting my backwards. Yeah. And I was getting up to like 800 meters, half a mile, just like bombing backwards. Wow. Half a mile backwards. And then I was getting the chase tag guys to come and try to do it with me. And that's how I know he's onto something. And I was onto something because they couldn't do that shit. And I'm sitting there dusting them backwards. And I'm like, 39, bitch, And then, of course, we go forward and then they can smoke me again. But it's like the gap was closing. So the sprint work was really awesome. Like it made me fall in love with running for the first time in my life. I did track and field, I did basketball, but I've always hated running. I've always hated running, but now that my focus is different, now that I want to catch these impossible to catch assholes, like I can't wait to go sprint again, you know, and I can't wait to do all the movements that aid the sprint. I can't wait to go do leg presses again. Like I got out of weightlifting for so long because it was such a drag to me, but now my focus has changed and it's like I'm a fucking leg press machine. I'm so into it. Leg day, every day is leg day now.
Oh, no.
So that's changed my style quite a lot, is having that very unreasonable dream of ruining Frank Mejia's life at age 41 by tagging him. And so that's where like all of my focus is going, but it's really got me focused. So the speed training and the chase training, that's where all of my parkour energy's going to now. And of course, I'm trying to develop swings for these interim 3 or 4 months because it's always been my weakest skill set. I'm a much better runner, jumper, climber than I am a swinger or flipper. You know, my swings and flips are like, you know, yeah, but they're definitely not my best ones. So now that I can't run for probably another 4 or 5 months, I'm gonna go for monster swings and see what that's like, because I've never really taken that super far. I'm okay at it, but I want to do giants. I want to do, you know, crazy one-armed angled shit. There's a whole world in swinging that's totally untapped for me. So I'm excited about that. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, what for my style of training?
Yeah, like what's your practice look like these days? Are you a jumper? Are you a flow guy? What do you like?
You know what? It's so sporadic. I feel like I'm just all over the place with my training. It's like each day I feel it's a little something different. And then since quarantining and coming back, it's like trying to get back into flips more because I just love tricking. So getting all the kicks and everything back. So that's, just try. It's, you know, not enough time to train at all. Really.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
That's how it is.
Oh, that's just like saying I don't want to. That's bullshit. Make the time. I know.
No, I would have to agree with you, Sean. Like my ego gets in the way. It's like, oh, but it's so much easier not to train. So let's not and get the potato chips. And you like that new show that's on Netflix. That's way easier. And then like I have to talk myself out of it. But my style is definitely flow. I try and work on my flow as much as I can. And just smaller movements. Like I know I can, like I'm older too. My movements aren't going to be that grand, but I'm so happy that I can pre my body length. Like I didn't think I could ever do that, and now I'm going even further. When, you know, even when Tom and I went out, and Amathea and Vinny went out just training a couple weeks ago, knees over toes as well. I didn't know where I came from. I just showed up. You know, it was just like, are you kidding me? I need to be jamming with people more often. My flow is there. Tom taught me a new move and I threw it down in a line. It was just like, it was great. So I'd have to say like mobility, community, and flow. That's my style.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always new things to incorporate.
Always.
Just see something like, oh no, I gotta try this and add this in here.
Yeah, some of my best training days have been those days where I'm talking myself out of it. Like, I'm not really, meh. You can skip one, can't you? Meh.
Totally.
And those are the days where I'd always drag myself somewhere. Fortunately, I live right across the street from a track, and
Cool.
which has a ton of equipment. So, and I've got all my own toys, and I just start doing something. I'm like, just go somewhere and do something. That's your plan for today, and just see, you know, pop that seed and see what grows out of it. And I've had those kinds of days where I go there, I have no energy, I'm exhausted, I'm uninspired, and I'll just start dicking around. I'll stand on the edge of a curb and just, you know, take it back to basics, train my heels, and before you know it, I'm doing like 11-foot laches off a fucking tree branch in an hour and a half, you know? Didn't plan on that, but now it's this huge sequence that I thought I had absolutely no energy for it, just pulled it right out of me. So I also love that about this discipline, about this practice,
Yes.
which is that it has infinite entry points.
Mm.
And it doesn't really matter how you feel. If you just start moving, something almost always happens. And it's usually cool, and you always feel better. At least I do, unless my leg explodes.
Yeah.
No,
Training.
I think a lot of parkour people are like that. You don't feel right if you haven't moved in too long, you know?
That's when
Get
you know.
antsy.
That's when you know it's in you, you know? Just, can we go outside? Just one jump, baby. I just need one.
Yeah, like even during the lockdowns and lockups, the people who were doing parkour in their apartments in their small room, and they're doing challenges, like who can do this in their small space. Like, it was really cool. Like, you just proved it. Like, you can do parkour anywhere. You just have to have that vision in there. Everything's a possibility.
And we responded to that at PK Move, obviously with the book, that was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a series of videos that were commissioned by the city of Alexandria for PK Move at home. And there's all of our coaches, including me, are doing at-home stuff. I've got like a solid 15 minutes just dicking around on a couch, you know, just doing like cool, like spinny, flowy couch flow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what happens if the doorbell rings and you need to get off and go this way, but your head's on the other end, you know, solve those problems. It's actually, they actually turned out to be quite a lot of fun. So
Cool.
anyone would like to go to the PK Move website under PK Kids and see our at-home lessons, you too, at any age, can figure out how to fuck with the couch and have a great day.
There will be a link to that in the description.
Yeah, maybe we could bleep the F-bomb when I'm promoting PK Kids. Yeah, we can fix that in post, right?
Do you want to take that?
I should do a second take on that one.
If you want.
To be fair, when YouTube asks me, I always say these are not meant for kids, so it's all good.
I don't even know about that. So thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, Tom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Here, let me go ahead here.
Yeah, good. Give her.
Well, I guess parkour is obviously such a big piece of your life. Are you watching like a lot of other parkour content and everything? Like, do you watch all the store videos or follow more mainstream like parkour stuff?
Here and there. I bought Soul Destroyer was the first piece of parkour content I think I paid for, and then I went on a spree. You know, what was it? Super Tramps Asia, I think. And I bought a bunch of other ones that I still haven't even watched yet. But Soul Destroyer, like that brought me back to the beginning. I hadn't felt that way since like Oleg Out of Time. You know. Everybody's favorite, right? Mine too. But yeah, the progression in Soul Destroyer was absolutely insane. I don't watch a ton of parkour content, and I'm barely on social media except, you know, for more parkour paperwork, you know. But because you gotta post. Yeah. And I gotta post more. I really do. But hey, what was I talking about? I don't take in a bunch of parkour content unless I go out to Virginia or somebody comes to visit me here and they're, you know, 24, and that's the only way I can get them to talk to me or make eye contact, is if they're like, hey, who's on your phone? What have you been looking at for the last 20 minutes? Oh, Matt McCreary. Who's that? You know? But the little bits that I do take in, there's a few people out there right now that I'm just really loving watching. Matt McCreary's one of them. You know, he's getting credited with what they're calling the monkey style, which is funny to me because I actually have an LLC called Monkey Style Movement. Yeah. Like, that's actually my registered company. I was like, oh, it's ahead of the curve. Yeah. And now they're taking it. But I love what he's doing in like bringing back classic long form lines, but with like new little wrinkles that are just him. You know, he can put together 14, 15 moves that feel like a 4-move sequence the first time you watch him. You know, they're like 15 seconds long, and you're like, wait a second, I think he just did way more than I was able to even process the first time. I gotta watch that 2 or 3 times and see that he just invented 3 moves, and I didn't even see him on the first pass. You know, kind of like how Oleg was back in the day.
Yeah.
Doing like 30-second sequences with 10 moves that I still have never seen anybody pull off 12 years later. You know, he's getting to that level of creativity, and if he adds like more tricking, for example, or, you know, starts broadening his skill set, I don't know what all he does, but he's going to be one of those guys that like the next generation's looking to.
For sure.
And then my guy here, Julius Porter. If y'all don't know Julius Porter, well, this guy has the strides that just make my mouth water. He was the one guy. He was the one guy I was watching at the speed comps. He took second to Charles Poujade, who's a pretty famous French guy, French free runner, parkour athlete, has won like every comp with Team Blacklist, Valentine, all those guys. But Julius, I had never heard of or seen before, but he knew all the North Carolina crew that's actually hooked into the Urban Evolution crew in DC. And he came out here, and I saw him at a speed comp, and he's just like someone, he makes me think of like, you guys ever play Street Fighter, Ken and Ryu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Ryu's thing is he's like, he doesn't have a whole lot of talent, but he works so hard. And he has to work like twice as hard to be almost as good as Ken, who's just like a fucking prodigy. You know, he's just a natural prodigy. He's faster than Ryu. His moves are flashier than Ryu, but Ryu, through dogged determination, eventually reaches Ken's level, you know, and they have this great rivalry. I have this fantasy in my head of having the same relationship with Julius, because Julius is just like, to me, is just raw talent.
Cool.
And, you know, I'm more of a workman, like, you know, through discipline and hard work, I will overcome my modest athletic limits to achieve something fairly good for me.
Yeah.
But Julius is just like this. I had him over here for the track. I convinced them to do track practice with him. I was like, guys, you don't understand. I'm old, but I'm still getting really fast. You guys are already fast. So come do this with me. You'll be insane. You know, we started timing some 200 meters, and I clocked in a 29 that day, which is pretty gosh darn good for a 39-year-old that had only started practicing them again. But I was being advised by an Olympic runner, so my form is very, you know, pretty technically sound. And then Julius steps on the track, no warm up, shoes half tied, and just jangles his way. Like, his body looks like a bag of parts at high speed that none of them's talking to each other. He's just kind of and turns in a 25 and isn't even breathing hard. You know, I'm just like, what are you? I hate you. I wish I was you. You know, I have all these conflicting feelings. I wish you were my dad, but you're 25. You know? So he's the guy, man. Like in World Chase Tag, if he like, I don't know if actually like working on his tech, it might ruin him. Maybe he's just a unicorn. Maybe he's just this insanely gifted person who just doesn't need to train. He's like Allen Iverson. You know anything about Allen Iverson?
No.
Beyond his name, not really.
He was a Hall of Fame basketball player. He was the point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, and his thing was he never practiced. And they would ask him about it after games. They're like, so why don't you ever come to practice? And he'd like take off his sunglasses and being like, we won. What are you talking about? Practice. Then put his sunglasses back on, and he would score 30 points a game, and he was the most dangerous person, like the most impossible person to guard in the league. And he never practiced, never worked out, like skipped all of that. We would just show up to the game. It made him kind of poisonous to his teammates, but they all trusted him because he was a leader and he would help them win. He's like, I don't care if he doesn't come to practice. He's better than everyone. He clearly doesn't need to. And it's like, what would happen to Allen Iverson if he practiced? Would he have like 8 championships, or would it take away what was special about him? So that's Julius Porter, everyone.
Could have been a Jordan.
He's awesome. The potential Jordan of parkour if he just gets his arms moving the right direction when he runs. I'm talking trash about a guy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Oh, it's always seems like there's a balance between that stuff, right? Like people who are a little bit more naturally gifted, because I guess they don't have to practice, so they don't appreciate it as much as people who only get where they are through sheer determination and hard work.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or
is he just really young? Maybe it's just his time.
I think Julius is like 24, 25. Yeah, he's definitely in his prime, but he has such a great attitude towards it all. He's just the chillest, nicest, kindest guy, and he has no ego about his own skill. And when I say no ego, I don't mean he's self-deprecating. Like, he knows he's the shit, but you'll never catch him saying it. He's just kind of he's there for everybody. He just happens to be this insane, perfect gazelle of a man, but his energy is very warm and embracing, like you hope everybody in parkour is gonna be when you start hanging out with them, and most of us are, I think.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go to Boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boulder's great. You should come and you should stay.
I hate when
Forever.
I go to this place because I never want to come back.
Yeah, and the scene here is incredible. There's so many beasts that have moved here in just the past 3 or 4 years, from all across the country. Max Henry, Julius, bunch of people are now, Denver, Boulder, that's the hub, man.
Well, yeah, for real. I out of, all the states, right? Like, I feel like Colorado is just such a source of, parkour knowledge and skill, just the athletes coming out. What are you guys drinking there? What's in your what's in the water there?
Like, there's mega jams, is that correct? Like,
there hasn't really been a big jam since COVID, but
yeah, of course, yeah.
And a lot of the culture was based around Apex movement.
Yeah.
But one thing COVID did, one bad thing COVID did was kind of put the nail in the coffin of Apex Boulder. Ryan and Amos are getting back on their feet out here and trying to figure out how to do it without a gym. And between those two guys, they can figure out any parkour problem, I'm pretty sure. So I'm interested to see what they come up with. But it also, so much of the culture was gym based that a lot of those jams were starting to go away. And I've kind of been out here on the outside because I didn't really have a crew to roll with. I've been doing my own things, doing my own practice, and hadn't really connected to the community much because I didn't want to go to the gym all the time. I'm very much an old head that wants to practice outside all the time. And I found that, this is maybe a parkour thing, because I kind of find this wherever I go. It's, parkour kids be kind of flaky. It's kind of hard to get them on logistics, kind of hard to follow through, hard to get a group together. It seemed like it could have just been that I was kind of on the outside. No one knew me yet, but since I've gotten hooked into the community, those things have gotten a lot quicker. Like I'll send out a Discord like, hey, let's meet here. And, half the chase tag team will show up and 4 other people. It's like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. And I think COVID has kind of reminded people of that spirit that was maybe kind of getting lost as everybody gets into their clique and is always at the gym. It's given us unfortunate but helpful reminder. It's like, hey, remember what this is? Remember what this really is? Let's meet outside. Let's meet outside every single day now, since the whole world's shut down, and this should be the golden age.
Exactly.
For parkour, right?
Yeah. Everything's opened up for you because there's nobody around.
Yeah, I was really taking advantage of that during the early going. I was like, no one's here. It's a ghost town.
I'm out.
Middle
Get
of
the
the
ninja
day
gear.
on a Wednesday, I can go anywhere.
Rooftops.
Now they're starting to crack down again. No, I haven't experienced that, but a few months of rehab, I'll be testing the limits again.
Yeah.
Seeing what we can get away with. Boulder's really tolerant, I find. I've never, and we've been pretty brazen about it, doing rooftop stuff. Like we've had 10, 11, 12 people warming up with hacky sack on a rooftop in front of everyone. Like you can see us from the street, and throwing big ass gap jumps and whatever. And when security comes, they'll watch for like 15 minutes and then tell us, like, all right, 20 minutes. I'm like, okay.
Nice. Security actually does that?
They're pretty cool about it here because parkour's got some purchase here. There's kind of an existing culture here.
Cool.
And the campus is really lenient. That
Really?
Ryan Ford founded. Yeah, Ryan Ford had a parkour club in CU Boulder, I think around 2006 or even before that. And it's been ongoing for 15 years now. So very accepting of it. I've never, ever been troubled. And I'll do it right in front of them. So yeah, you want to come to a friendly, warm, awesome place with all the beasts you could ever hope to train with. Get thee to Boulder ASAP.
How did you set up that sentence? If you want to train with all the beasts, that's great.
Yeah, fantastic beasts and where to find them. It's Boulder.
Boulder, Colorado. All the Canadians are going to Boulder. Yeah.
Speaking of travel, then, over your long parkour career here, have you gone to, traveled much for parkour? Have you gone on, like, the old days of the pilgrimage to Lys or anything, or?
Yeah. Oh man, it's all still on the bucket list, honestly. Yeah. Most of it is. Yeah, my dream spots are like Copenhagen, Bangkok, Lys, all the big ones.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't gotten out to do much. I went to Vancouver for the North American Parkour Championships with
nice.
Frank, with that person. I'm trying not to curse as much. I realize I've been dropping bombs left and right, so I need to rein
That's
in.
okay.
Oh,
Went out there with Frank.
All fucking right.
It's all fucking cool.
But Vancouver was awesome. I would love to go back to Vancouver again. But as far as parkour pilgrimages, it's mostly just going back to Virginia every couple of months to make sure these 13 plates we got spinning keep going, And DC is a great scene. DC is like the original North American scene. That was the first gym, and really one of the very first parkour cultures was DC. So
I didn't know.
Big part of that was Mark Turok. Mark Turok gets a lot of credit for one of the first people to kind of bring parkour to America and, make it into a business and make classes and have the old APK forum and spread it. So DC was one of the original scenes. And, after I saw Casino Royale, I was so stoked to find the only place in America that taught parkour then was DC. And it already had a scene, and I got to go to those jams and saw, tiny little French dudes in quadruple XL sweats doing their thing. It was intoxicating.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you gotta live through parkour history right there. That's
But any city I go to, obviously you can make it a pilgrimage, and I typically do that. Whenever I'm traveling, I'll usually budget one night to sneak out and
Agreed.
Find some night missions somewhere. The last one I did was in St. Louis at this place, Monstrosity or Monstro City, if you say it wrong, because it looks like two words. But it's this crazy free park structure. I don't even know what to call it. It's called Monstrosity and it's part of City Museum in St. Louis. You can look it up. The thing's insane looking. It looks like if Tim Burton owned a junkyard. How about that?
What?
Yeah, and Tim Burton's junkyard, and going through it, the legal way is super fun. But sneaking back into that thing at night, oh my God.
Oh, neato.
That's just about the most fun anyone can have.
You checking it out there, Tom?
Yeah, but all like the first things that come up is Minecraft. So.
Oh,
Gonna...
please. Oh.
It's always Minecraft.
Minecraft parkour.
Monster City in St. Louis, but yeah, I think again, one of the coolest things about parkour is the way you can access it anywhere, and no matter where I go, even if I visit my grandpa in like middle of nowhere Iowa, if I've got a few hours to kill and any kind of structure I find, you can make a memory out of it. You can make something fun out of it. I remember hitting like a 14-foot down pre off of a train track in like rural Iowa, and that was like the best part of my trip once, because it was like the biggest jump I'd ever done outside, and I thought no one saw it. I thought it was going to be one of those things. It's like, oh, this one's just for me, no camera, no nothing, but I know I did it, and apparently I wasn't the only one. The railway security came down the track in their little railway car with the little blue light, asked me what I was doing there. Like, we thought you were a terrorist. I'm like, look at my shirt.
No, they always think that.
My shirt was like a little like monkey holding a katana, like, come on. I'm not
Pretty sus,
okay.
man.
I'm not the guy. Not the guy.
No, that's part of their protocol, is to automatically think it's part of terrorism. It's just part of transportation. If anyone were to touch a trucking vehicle as well, it's part of terrorism as well.
Jeez.
So.
I mean,
trust me. Ask me how I know.
But it's like, man, I feel like I can find trouble anywhere if I just jump far enough. Man.
Yeah, Jared.
Scary.
You become a stand-up
Scared to
over this time, hey? Like during the pandemic, you become like been writing down material, waiting for podcasts to pop up to throw down some good stuff, right?
Yeah, if you chop these 2 hours down to the gems, it's going to be great.
Good. Do you still have some more time, Sean?
What time is it? I already dealt with paperwork for today. I can keep going.
You got like maybe another half an hour or so?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to eat at some point today, but
Yeah.
You're gonna say, should we go on to just some top fives right now?
sure.
Do you want to do that, Christy, or?
Yeah, I'm down with anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you got.
I just can't wait to get on a lacrosse ball and like massage my face. It needs to relax. I laughed like most all the way through the
massage
podcast.
gun.
Thank you for that. Yeah, yes,
Ah,
It works.
yes. That's the shit.
Holy shit. Okay.
All right, so we'll start with your top 5 athletes. So just people who inspire you, or you just like to watch.
Well, if we're talking like my parkour Rushmore, it starts with Jackie Chan. I loved Jackie Chan before I knew what parkour was.
Yeah.
And the traversing that he did was always my favorite part. I mean, I love the fights, I love the humor, but there'd always be those little in-between sequences where he just like pops up a fucking zigzag 10-foot fence. Just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So loved that. So I knew I loved parkour before there was parkour, and obviously Jackie Chan's the godfather, and anyone who says different's full of it. You need to know your history. Even the Yamakasi wouldn't disagree with that one. They were imitating him. They know it.
Mm-hmm.
Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle, not the
the
sculptor. Raphael's my favorite, but he's all dark and brooding and takes himself too seriously. But Michelangelo's what? Michelangelo's a party dude. He gets it. He's the most parkour out of all the Ninja Turtles, and I love him. That's why we do nunchucks in class.
I love it. It's so cool.
So let's see, Jackie, Michelangelo, Woody Harrelson in White Men Can't Jump is one of my all-time favorite athletes.
Actually, that's a really good movie.
You know, he
hustle.
just had an insane shot, great dribble, and beautiful trash talk. And I patterned my game after him.
Cool.
Billy Hoyt. Billy Hoyt. He couldn't dunk though, so I got that on him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Even
Took
after
12 months, I'll be on it. Gosh, who else? Jonathan Edwards. You know, Ben Patrick turned me on to Jonathan Edwards. Is kind of my late stage athlete inspiration now, winning Olympic triple jump at 34.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and it still holds the triple jump world record, and that's the oldest world record in track is the triple jump record, and that's Jonathan Edwards. It's like 26 or 27 years old, and the thing about it that I like about his story is, again, he was a grinder. He barely made the team in his first Olympics, wasn't even supposed to be there. Second Olympics, just missed out on the podium. Third Olympics at 34, which is like 10 years past prime in triple jump. Like, triple jump is the most explosive. Like, if you're going to blow a tendon
Yeah.
in any other, if you're going to blow an Achilles in any sport besides maybe gymnastics, it's going to be triple jump. And this dude's coming on at 34 in his third Olympics, winning gold. And it was all about his training and his mentality and a shit ton of Nordic curls.
Yeah.
More Nordic curls and more Nordic curls. And he just eventually, piece by piece, you know, could throw a Hadoken on par with Ken. Even better than Ken. Yeah.
Even better.
So he's amazing. He's amazing. And then my other favorite athlete is probably Frank Mejia, which is why I hate him so much.
Good call.
Real love-hate relationship there. Hey.
Dorky little badger. Can't wait to catch him. Can't wait to catch him. He's like if Geraldo was a Pokemon. That's kind of his look.
Pokemon?
I know the Geraldo reference might be lost.
Rivera? Like
non-American
the talk show
audience.
host?
He was a talk show host.
Yeah. I
A
know
very
Geraldo.
famous mustache.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Pokemon.
That's hilarious.
Frank's his love child. If Geraldo hooked up with like a Bulbasaur or something.
Can't wait to check this guy.
That's Frank Mejia. I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna catch them all.
All the Pokemons.
Man, he's going to listen to this and he's going to be like, what the hell?
I've already told him my intent to ruin his life through one
daily.
perfect tag.
Yeah. Good for you. I can't wait to watch. But that, like you said, that'll probably be next year.
And he has the perfect defense. He just shrugs and goes, all right.
Oh, those guys.
Son of a bitch. Now I'm so inspired.
Now you're gonna go train after this.
All right, next one here. We'll go on to your top 5 training places.
Ooh.
Gateway Park in Arlington, because that's where it all started for me. And that's still kind of the heart of the scene in DC. It's right across the Key Bridge connecting Georgetown to Arlington. And it's got sweeping views of DC, and it's got amazing jumps, and it's got this blue lattice work that's like 12 feet off the ground. And you can jump off the edge of that to one of the stair platforms. And it's also where I got my first major parkour injury. Oh, moderate parkour injury, when I didn't know nothing about landing technique or rolls or anything. Just started flinging myself off of staircases because I thought, I'll figure it out in midair. And I was wrong. And I fractured my tibia from the top down. Like an inch down. And then had a spiral fracture coming up the bottom of it. Now, I didn't know that for like 3 weeks. I just landed a jump and like pulled up on it. And we're talking a big staircase jump. The staircases at Gateway are probably like, you're talking 12 to 13 feet out with like a 6 or 7 foot drop. So you have to jump super far and you're floating.
Right.
And then you're hitting the ground. And I took one into a really shitty roll and popped up and probably already had like a bruised heel or something, or probably already had the bottom fracture. And then I jumped again and just got scared midair, like froze, and then just shoved my heels out at it.
No.
And then I heard that like little wet crunch inside the knee where it was like, and I was like, oh, I guess that's it for today.
Yeah.
Went home, tried to shake it off and start my normal injury recovery protocol where I'm like, well, you done it again, Sean. Time to be smart and use your education finally, after the injury, not before, after. Eventually I would learn better, although I still make mistakes.
There it is.
But I went walking around on this thing and it wasn't getting better. Like it just was not. I gave it 3 weeks and it was the same pain, that's not good. So I finally went to the hospital, and guy comes back in with the x-rays and he's like, I've never seen this before. And inside I'm like, yeah. Firsties. What do you mean? It's like, so what were you doing exactly? And I don't know why, but I lied. I don't know why I lied. I said I fell off my bike into a ravine and took a big drop onto my feet. I was ashamed. I don't know why.
Deny.
Like it was illegal or something. It's like, oh, I was doing heroin and jumping off a staircase, but don't tell anyone.
PCP, Sean.
So I lied and didn't tell him I was jumping because I was, I guess, embarrassed because I thought I was being an idiot too, and I didn't want him to know. But he's like, yeah, so you split the tibia from the top down like an axe going through a piece of wood. It's I just can't imagine the level of compression it would take to just caught like. You fell off your bike? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes,
right,
okay, well, you see this other thing that's coming up from the bottom? Okay, so if you can't take any pressure on your leg for a while, because see, if you land on your heel too hard again, they're gonna meet in the middle, and that's when the bone splits, and then we have to like put a bunch of metal in you. So can you chill out? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like, okay, we're gonna need to put a cast on you. I'm like, no, I have the information now. Thanks. And I took off and started a real rehab protocol. And once I know what's wrong, I can fix it. But
Cool.
that was kind of a silly one. And that was my first taste of like, oh, you really don't know what this is. This is a different beast. You need to humble yourself. Just because you're an athlete and you've done all these other disciplines, it doesn't automatically transfer. This is its own animal, and you need to show it a little more respect before it chews your ass up, which is what everyone kind of experiences in their first year, especially those of us in the beginning that didn't have any kind of guidance. I mean, I had Primal Fitness, so I could have gone there more, but, I'm stubborn and I like to figure out solutions to my own problems. So I went to a few classes and was like, I think I have glimpsed the principles enough to where I can teach this to myself on my own. And then, with every injury, I'd get reminded like, oh, you don't know it all. Now we got to fix this one, But it made me a better rehabilitative therapist. I can tell you that.
Look where you
Kind
are.
of a hard way to learn it, but, I'm
you got first-hand experience.
Yeah, quite a lot of it.
All right, so I think we got it. What did we get? One place there, training place.
Oh wow! Oh, geez, that was
On a
one
tangent.
place. Okay. Oops. Denver and Boulder is obviously full of them. Cat Fountain is one of my favorite things in the world. The spiral staircase at Commons Park that I did my big Superman flips off of. I just love that personally because that's where I learned to do huge Supermans, and it became one of my favorite things. I was always scared of them, but it's the perfect wall because it starts like 2 feet off the ground, and in a question mark pattern, it rises up to 16 feet. It's awesome. It's awesome. So I would throw fronts off of 2 feet, 3, 4, 5, and by the end of the summer, I was throwing it off of 11 and 12.
Wow!
Like a majestic eagle, and it was awesome. And I haven't done it since. It was just that summer, but so it'll always be deep in my heart for that reason. There's a bridge called Cheech that is very near and dear to mine and Rob Schill's heart because that's where we hang out and jump around. And it's a pedestrian footbridge in Denver going over the Platte River that's 192 feet long, broken into 8-foot precision gaps, 2-inch beams, 11 feet over concrete.
Perfect.
And it goes in an arc. So you have to jump up and then down.
Oh man.
2-inch, 8-foot rail prees, and there's 24 of these bastards in a row. And so my major parkour project that I want to finish before I die is to plyo all of Cheech and then stick 24. And we were building it up. Last summer, we were building it up. This time last year, me and Rob Schill went out there and we both hit the halfway mark. I am proud to say I was able to plyo it all the way to 10. Like we were doing individual jumps to 12, sticking it, hold. And I just got a bug up my ass that day. I was like, it's time. It's time to start putting the plows together.
Cool.
Scariest shit I've ever done, rail prees at height. Like, that's the real deal. There ain't too many people that go there, And I knocked off 3 in a row and found the rhythm, because the thing about plow prees, if you hit them right, they're actually very efficient, right? You can go much further off of plyos than you can sticking and landing, or landing and sticking, landing and sticking.
Right.
You can get the transfer right, which is damn hard at 8 feet on 2 inches, and you've got that narrow. And you've got that height in you. It's taken me, probably 20 trips to Cheech to settle the nerves. But we got all the way to 10 on the plyo, and now there's 12 to go. So that's like my dream project. If I finish that or tag Frank Mejia and ruin his life, I can retire the jersey. I'm out. I'm out of the game.
Just done.
I'll be watching. I'll be waiting for that.
Yeah, and then I've never been there, but Dom DeLoc, I have to get there someday. That's just like roots. You have to do it. Yeah. You have to do it. So but it's also my favorite, even though I haven't done it, is, seeing David Bell and the Yamakaze on there were one of my first early internet experiences of parkour that just lit me up the same way Casino Royale did, the same way Out of Time did. And seeing them on that structure, so comfortable, like squirrels on power lines, it's intoxicating. Every time I watch it to this day, like if I ever feel low on inspiration, I just fill up the tank with an old school Yamakaze on Dom DeLoc. So got to get there.
Sick. All right. Well, Christy, do you want to take the last thing here?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things, Sean. So this is sage advice. What would you give to somebody starting parkour, or somebody in parkour, or anyone interested? What would be your sage advice for them?
Don't take anything too seriously except mobility.
Cool.
You can never
pretty good.
take mobility serious enough.
Yeah. Wow,
the rest of it's just a game. Mobility unlocks the game.
That's good. Dang, would I ever agree with that? Because as I'm getting older, like I thought I had mobility when I was younger, but I'm constantly struggling in different paths of my mobility, and it could be different from one decade to another. And I just find sometimes, like you said, like the dorsal flexion. I thought I always had it, not until I went to for some therapy and found out knees over toes is better than therapy. Just even walking's better, it's just unreal. So yeah, good advice, yo. So sweet.
Yeah. Wish someone had told me at the beginning.
Wishes, hey? Yeah, wishes.
So many things. Really could have saved a lot of time if you just told it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's all good. I'm happy enough to learn it the hard way because I have a slightly more credibility now. You know?
And the spaghetti stick.
I'm telling you, mobility is the key. I assure you, I'm not just making it up. It's been the main difference in me thinking about quitting parkour at year 3 or 4 because my knees were trashed and everything hurt. And, I wasn't even believing my own hype anymore, which at that time I was just starting to be a coach. And I was like, no, parkour is not dangerous. It's all about your mindset and it's all about your technique and blah, blah, blah. But in truth, I was on my way out, but that was training. I was training for strength only, trying to keep muscle on, and not understanding the depth behind practices like calisthenics and yoga, where it's like length is where a lot of your strength is. You don't need, you've probably got all the muscle you need. It's just restricted from moving anywhere it wants. And and hooking up with people like Jordan Garcia, you can look him up. He's a prodigy. He's another Julius, where it's like he's so gifted, but also has the discipline. And he's the most talented and intellectual mover I've ever known. He's only like 24 and he can do everything. Parkour, juggling, one-arm handstands.
Oh, one of those
climb
guys.
up the side of a skyscraper. Like, he can do absolutely anything. And
wow.
he was one of the first people. I mean, he was only 21 when he was working at our gym, and he was the guy showing up 3 hours early, rolling around on balls, doing eccentric loading, like putting a plate on his back and doing pancakes super slow. And he went from like a chubby, short-limbed, uncoordinated teenager when he first walked in our gym to like 21, like a perfect, moving, looking like an Adonis, amazing dude. Like, but it wasn't even that his body looked great, which it did, but it moved so elegantly. And to watch him go from gangly and like, unskilled to just elegant. He was self-taught, and most of it was like, I just do slightly uncomfortable things in very long ranges of motion for a super long time. I invest a lot of time into it. And here I was at like 31, 32 with an exercise science degree and all this experience training people. And I was watching him every day do stuff that I had never even thought to do. But every time I saw it, I was like, of course. Like, the mechanics of that make sense to my education, my jargon. Right. I can put jargon around what he's doing immediately, and now I feel like an idiot for not doing it myself. And so seeing those people and adopting those practices changed everything. And now I'm in year 14, and before this Achilles thing happened, I mean, I was springier and more powerful than I'd ever been at any point in parkour. So take that stuff seriously. No one wants to stretch. I get it. No one wants to do rehab. Also get it. But if you don't take the time to become a student of that side of things, the best part of this will elude you, and your potential will never be realized. So do the slow stuff if you want to be really fast, and do it forever.
Awesome.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I think that's a good place to end this off there then. On that note.
Well, Sean, I want to say thank you for joining us on the CubeCast. I've really wanted to have you from PK Move on here since we've talked about having a podcast, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So thanks for making that dream come true. I'm definitely going to follow you and see what you're up to next. Like, I want to see you hit those goals that you talked about. And tell us where everyone watching or listening can find you.
www.pkmove.org to find out all about the good work that we do. At Shenanigoats on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and at PK Move on Instagram, of course.
Perfect.
Awesome. And then those will be in the description for anyone interested. And thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun for me. I hope it's obvious to tell. I really like talking about it, and I get a little too excited. So sorry about all the F-bombs. If you can scrub a few of those out, that'd be terrific. But, if not, we'll just chalk it up to exuberance. And if
usually it's me
gonna hate on me for being passionate, I'll promise to try to grow up next year.
Yeah. We'll take it. Whatever you got, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Tom?
Yeah. I guess we'll just say bye, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone in parkour land. Come to Boulder. It's the best.